Embrace prosperity and letting it go. She's most famous in my mind for letting it go. So, those things can be really, really neat. So thank you. Marjorie, do you have a book? Did you
Uh,
write it down yet?
I didn't write it down. I have, I've written about 70 books. Most of
Okay.
them are children's books, or
Oh, cool.
they have to do with, I do a lot of recipe books, but I'm having a little issue with Amazon because I write with a pen name for those areas because I'm a clothing designer and all my designer things are under my name, Marjorie J. McDonald. But my all the things that are kids' books and other kinds of things are under recipes and so on are under AB Mac, MAC, but Amazon keeps moving it to AB and then MX, lowercase mx. Do you mean AB MAX or MX rather? And I don't know how to, do you have an idea on how I can get Amazon to stop doing that, recommending that? Because I don't know how to.
I've heard of authors who have gotten a great response from Amazon by calling them or
Okay,
by emailing them to. If you have a KDP account, there's a way to contact Amazon
okay,
through the account.
all right,
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For a long time, I had a review on my 1001 Ways to Market Your Books that was totally inaccurate. The guy said, well, Kremer said to do this and do that, but I didn't. It's nowhere in the book. I did not say those things. And then he gave me a low rating because he said I said those things. You know? And I pleaded with Amazon. I think it finally got out of the top 10, things showcased out of, I think I have about 500 reviews on Amazon now. Um, but it was up there like one of the top one or two, and it was giving inaccurate information. And it took me over a year and a half, 2 years for them to do anything with it. I don't know if it's still up there, but it's hiding now, if nothing else. But it was wrong. So I actually had to comment on the review. This is totally wrong. I did not say that. It's nowhere in the book, blah, blah, blah. But, well, you get one thing like that, and, somebody, and trying to get rid of it can sometimes be a real challenge. And that's too bad.
and I've also,
Lori said it took her 3 KDP reps to solve a problem, but it finally got solved.
okay, okay, great.
So you may have to, it's again like a lot of other things in life. Sometimes you have to knock more than once. Sometimes you have to knock more than it's comfortable for you to knock. uh, that kind of thing. I really believe, a lot of authors, as authors, we hide away in our office or our bedroom or wherever we write, and we write, and we like that. And so and at least part of our life was solitary and quiet. So it's hard for some of us to knock on that door and keep knocking. But somewhat, you have to go to the borderline of obnoxious sometimes to reach out to people.
That's true.
For most authors, that means going beyond the borderline, because your borderline for obnoxious is, you know, is so mild that it's not even begins to measure as being obnoxious. Um, but you do have to knock. If somebody you're trying to reach is important to reach, you got to knock and knock and knock. Don't be shy about that. It you will get through, but you may have to think about how you're pitching them each time and change it a little bit, change your question a little bit, something like that. Um, One of the key ways to ask for help from somebody is first to say, I love what you did here, or I loved what you wrote here, something like that, where you say, I respect you, I know you, I've seen what you've done. And then, I need a little help here. Can you help me? And you'd be surprised how many even well-known authors are often open to being approached. And again, but you have to think of them as busy. So don't think that because you sent them an email and they didn't respond in 20 minutes, that they didn't see it and they're not going to respond. But if it's 2 weeks later, then you got to knock on the door again.
I can do that. I just wasn't just real sure where to start. So the going through my KDP account, that'll make it easier for me to zero
Yeah,
in.
yeah. So the author that I worked with that did the middle grade reader, she writes in 3 areas. She does funny romance, she does hot romance, actually does 4 areas, thrillers, and now these children's books. So she's wanted to use a pen name for some of the things, but Amazon put her hot, sexy Audible books up on her account, along with her children's books and her, her light romance, funny books. And,
Oh, no.
even though it was under a pen name, they somehow connected it with her, I'm not quite sure how they did it. And that gets to be kind of a problem if you don't want to mix audiences. That's why you use pen names, among other things, is so you don't mix audiences. So she's still working on it, getting that changed. So and they were apparently hot, sexy novels, which I take to mean that every 20 pages there was a sex scene where people got naked and whatever. There's a formula for writing those, and it's usually something like every 15, 25 pages, there's a sex scene. There was I read this back when I was young. I read this one Western series that was hot and sexy. And again, every 20 pages, there was a hot sex scene where the woman was tearing the clothes off of this poor cowboy. Not that the cowboy minded the final result, but uh, that was just the formula that they followed. But if you're writing books for children, you don't want to have those two mix.
True.
And even maybe if you're writing light romance, you don't want those two to mix. So, that's why you use pen names and you hope that Amazon doesn't connect you. The funny thing is that on Goodreads, I'm John Kremer, the German psychologist. His books have been attached to my name, and I haven't figured out how to get them unattached. I don't know enough about Goodreads to do that. But I'll go to Goodreads and there'll be my books, and then there'll be these psychology books, Psychology of Sports or something like that, from John Kremer. Spells his name the same as I do. I don't know how he pronounces it. I think he's German, but I don't know. But people think that I've written books in a number of different areas that I haven't. And that's with an unusual name. Think if you were John Smith, how many titles you might get associated with. It could be hard. So anyway, there are, I track my name on Google just to see who shows up. There's a minister named John Kremer, spells the name same, a sports star, a bass fisherman, the sports psychologist, and there's probably about 10 or 20 other people that spell the name the same as I do. Again, an unusual name. Now, Freddie, you probably don't get too many other Freddie Fonsecas to compete with. You might be a unique. And certainly with the middle name, if that's your middle name, Niagara.
It's my pen name.
Okay.
Because I wrote a poem about Niagara Falls that was
Okay.
so full of sounds that I thought I'm going to use that as my middle name.
Okay. Cool. So you probably don't have much competition at all. Ginger Marks, you probably have at least 20 or 30 people that share your name. The key thing, is you try to make sure you own the top 3 to 5 listings, or you dominate the first page of a Google search. And, it's interesting that if you search for John Kremer, or at least the last time I did, I think my Facebook profile showed up, my Pinterest profile, my Amazon page, of course, a couple of my websites, and so on and so forth. So you try to own as much of the page as you can, even though all the other John Kramers will be jealous of you, and will try to knock you off your perch. But again, you should try to own at least 5 of the top 10 listings. And that's one reason why you should be in Facebook with your name and on Pinterest with your name, because social networks often show up high for when people are searching for somebody's name. So I do recommend that you be on Facebook as your name, if you can be. If you can't be under John Kremer, be under John Kremer author or something like that. The same with Pinterest. If you join Pinterest, both of those do build the URL off of your name. So I'm facebook.com/John Kremer, and I'm pinterest.com/John Kremer. So, you want to try to own the names you can. The other thing that you might want to own at some time is your topic. Like I own bookmarketing.substack.com. I own bookmarketing.locals.com. I own bookmarketing.medium.com, etc. So that if people are searching for book marketing, at least some of the top websites that allow you to have a profile on them, like Medium and Locals, and what was the other one that I said? Anyway, that you own your topic. So, those are things you should think about. So if you join Substack, you might think about, do I join it under my name or do I join it under my topic? When I'm creating a newsletter, when you're creating the newsletter, it should definitely be under your topic, so that you own book marketing like I do. You can't own it now on Substack as I do, but you could own, your topic, whatever it might be, weird and wacky holidays.substack.com. Or something like that, so think about that when you're creating it. Now, my profile, I think under Substack is still under my name, but let's see if it is. Yeah, John Kremer. Yeah, so it's under John Kremer, but my newsletter is bookmarketing.substack.com. In Medium, I actually think I joined as book marketing. So I have book marketing newsletter at bookmarketing.medium.com or something like that. Medium, again, is a website you might think about creating a profile on. And again, if you want to create a free website there, Medium can be a very good, useful tool for it. And Medium is actually a better place if you want to create a website than Substack. Substack is incredible for newsletters, podcasts, and a membership site, but it's not well organized, at least not right now. That'll probably change it someday, but right now it's mainly designed to be, time sensitive. So all the recent stuff is at the top and other stuff goes down. But medium.com does allow you to organize your page so that you can feature some things more prominently than other things. It's still time sensitive in terms of its overall look and feel, but it's a nice thing Again, to own your term. Those are some of the things you can do. Again, on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/John Kremer, but I'm also facebook.com/book marketing story success stories. That's my group on Facebook, and you're welcome to join it. That's free. You're welcome to join and post things there. Any marketing stories you want to share, that's great. But again, so I own the term book marketing on Facebook, at least, in some way. So let's see. Marjorie, Rattlesnake Adventures. That's is that your series title? Oh no, that's your name is AB Mac. Okay, for your
Yeah.
books and recipes. And Rattlesnake Adventures, I presume, is not a cookbook?
I know how to cook rattlesnake, but I have not written a cookbook on that. If to get to my author central profile page, you can do Rattlesnake Adventures AB MAC, and then click on the blue highlighted author name, and it'll take you over to all the different books that I have
Okay.
under my pen name of AB Mac.
Okay. And so you probably have a separate Amazon account in KDP for AB
No.
Mac?
It's a pen name on my KDP account. So I write under that pen name. So my author central profile page is just, and the only thing that's on that is AB Mac. And then my other author central profile page is under Marjorie J. McDonald. And that's all about my
and both
clothing and knitting design.
Both of those profiles are in one KDP account?
They're in one KDP account.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that. So you can use a pen name and put it up.
Yes.
Okay.
So somebody earlier was talking about needing to do that. So maybe that'll help them.
Okay. Any other questions from people right now? I know that Lori had to leave because her husband's asking for dinner. I want food. So we should take one or two more questions if anybody has a question, and then we should end because we've been going at 2.25 hours so far.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you guys for sticking around.
Can I ask a question about idea pins on Pinterest? How you feel about them? Since you can't put in an active link.
Yeah. For those of you that are not on Pinterest, Pinterest has offered a new thing called idea pins, where you basically pin anywhere from 6 to 10 images as sort of together as a story. But you can't provide a link. I think you can provide a link in the comments. I think I did that once, but they don't click through like other pins on Pinterest, where you can define exactly where they will go on your website, to a book page, to a blog post, whatever it might be. So you can send traffic to a very specific place every time you pin. But with story pins, you can't provide a link. I put up about 10 story pins, and they get a certain amount of visibility and traffic. So I'd probably do a few more at some point, but I wouldn't do a lot for several reasons. One is, if you do too many story pins, your real pins get way down on your profile page, because the story pins are showcased first. And so if you don't, if you want people to see your other pins that are what I call your money pins, you'd probably want to do that. Now, one way that, Marjorie, that I got around that also is that the last image, or all the images, had my URL at the bottom of them.
Okay.
It's not clickable, but people, if they see it, they could go and intentionally go to that link.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So that's one way to do it. The story pins do get visibility. I have probably at least 50,000, maybe 100,000 views of my story pins so far, or idea pins. So, but the fact that they can't send me traffic directly, I don't like. So I think it's better to pin one image at a time and do it that way with a good description, with keywords, and with the link you want, where you want to send people to. That's far more effective in terms of getting traffic
Okay,
if you're
great.
using Pinterest. And this is something you think about also with other social networks, is using keywords in your post on Facebook, let's say, or in Twitter on the hashtags that you use, or Instagram where you use hashtags to tell people what your post is about, or your Instagram, uh, is, and so on. The thing I like about Pinterest and Instagram are both very visual medium. The thing I like about Pinterest is that each pin you do can go to a different page and send traffic to that page specifically. So I like it for that reason, because it really does allow you to create um, interest for people and sell them things, sell your book and so on. Instagram, the most, any Instagram, at least the last time I looked at Instagram, you can't click on that image and be taken to an offsite page. Pinterest loves sending traffic elsewhere. Instagram wants to keep it on its site, just like Facebook does. If you have a link in your post on Facebook, you're going to get a lot less visibility than if you don't have a link. That's been my experience. Every time I put a link in there, a lot less people see it. So, because Facebook wants you to advertise, Instagram wants you to advertise. They're owned by the same Meta company. So, you know, they're in it to make the billions of dollars that make their company worth $1 trillion. They're not in it necessarily to help you. But Pinterest still likes to send traffic to where it can help people. Pinterest is still very much into helping people find ideas, find ways to do things, and so on. So that's one reason I really love Pinterest, because it really does send traffic. For what that's worth.
Great, great ideas. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Andrea, have you asked any questions yet? Let's see if she shows up again.
I am here. I'm cooking, but I can't seem to get off because I'm so intrigued with the information you're providing. I've been looking at licensing a title and what that would look like. So the name of my book is The Audacity of Overcoming. And so I've been researching if I wanted to license out that title to someone, let's say, who's in the financial industry, The Audacity to Overcome Debt, where they would essentially provide the expertise material, but I would talk about my personal story with overcoming debt and kind of make it relevant to my book brand, but license it out, the usage of the title to them.
Yeah, that's possible. And there may be somebody that's attracted to it. The one thing that you might want to do is trademark the term at some point.
I actually have. That's why I got to put it out as a series, because I was told that I couldn't trademark one book. So I have to make sure it's a series. So I'll be putting out another one.
Okay. And the neat thing is, you know, you can use at least half the content from your original book in a series if you want to. And you know, talk about overcoming obstacles to weight loss, or, you know, whatever it might be, to starting up a business, to getting noticed on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it could become a very long series, sort of like the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, or the Dummy series, and things like that. Yeah, they became very much, you know, when Jack and Mark first started off with Chicken Soup for the Soul, they were publishing Chicken Soup for the Soul 1, 2, 3, and they was just going to go up to 100, or something like that with just Chicken Soup for the Soul and the number. And then a friend of mine, Marcy Scheimoff, came to them and said, "You got to do a Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul." And they did, and that became the best-selling book in the series. And it made Marcy very wealthy. She got a nice cut of the action, and she had to find an investment advisor to help her handle her money, just from that one book. But then she did The Mother's Soul and The Mother's Soul 2, and a number of other ones. And actually, at one point, Fairfield, Iowa, where I lived at the time, had more best-selling authors than per capita than anywhere in the world, because a lot of the Chicken Soup for the Soul co-authors lived in, were friends of Marcy, and Marcy turned them on. So the Veteran Soul and the Sports Lovers Soul, I think, and the Pet Lovers Soul, did I say that one? Anyhow, a number of the subcategory books were all written by authors in Fairfield, Iowa.
I live there.
I know. And I lived there for about 20 years and left there to come here, primarily, again, because my wife is allergic to the modern world. And the farm chemicals just got to be too much for her. So we moved to Taos, New Mexico, up on the side of the mountain. So the challenge we have now is that our neighbors next door that just moved in about a year ago, they use a lot of perfumed laundry stuff. So we get that once a day about or so. But fortunately, the wind blows the other direction most of the time. And every once in a while we get wood smoke, which is hard on my wife, but not that often. So it's been a good place to live. We live a quarter mile off of the dirt road, the 2.5 mile dirt road. So we don't get a lot of traffic. We don't get city noise. We don't get a lot of the things that would be hard on my wife. That's why we moved here. And we're happy, we rent a house up on the side of the mountain, and we have 2.5 acres for our dogs, all fenced in, things like that. So it's a good place to live. And I bet I pay less rent than any of you to live in this wonderful place. What is that? Somebody asked something like that. But anyway, we pay $750 a month to live where we live, in this beautiful forested area, 2.5 acres for our dogs to run around. And our newest dog, he loves to run. So to be able to run free is like gold to him. And he would not be good in the house all day, or chained up, or even walking on a leash. He would not be so happy. He loves to run. He's so fast, and he can run around the trees like zoom, 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 and never hit a tree. So I love him for that. He's just a great dog, and so happy. My dog, Becky, she's not as happy. She doesn't like strangers. So she wants to hurt them or nip them and things like that. So she's harder to bring out into the public, but she's a sweetheart. She's just the sweetest girl as well. Anyway, so was there a question in all of that I forgot to answer? The neat thing is, I live up on the side of the mountain, 2.5 miles up a dirt road that's maintained once a year, and I can still market my books and market them effectively, because you can do so much of it via the internet, and creating relationships and making friends on the internet. I have so many friends that I made on the internet. That's the only way I know them. And I think that that's neat. But the best way to make new friends, if you want to, is attend a convention or trade shows that's related to what you write about. So, if you're Freddie, at some point you might want to go to the Poets of America convention or whatever, if they have one, or a poetry conference. Go to writers' conferences. Any one of you can go to an author or writers' conference and meet other writers who are writing like you. There's the classic case, many of you have probably heard of the 4-hour work week. Tim, the author, he spent the year before his book was published attending internet marketing conferences because he figured that was his target audience. Because the people that are part of internet marketing, they're lazy. They want to be lazy. They like to do things, work 4 hours a week or something like that. So he had the perfect book for them. So he would attend all these internet marketing conferences. And what he did, he talked to people and he says, what can I do for you? He didn't say, hey, I got this new book. Will you do something for me? He said, what can I do for you? He'd take people out for drinks, out to eat, things like that, build a relationship with them. In a very, and somewhere in there, he'd talk about his book and everybody was going, wow, that's an incredible book. So that when he was ready to publish a book, he had something like 200 key internet marketers, all willing to mail to their audience, email to them to promote his book. He became on the bestseller list without being in a store, without appearing on TV, because there was so much internet marketing promotion going on. He became #1 on Amazon with that book. New York publishers said, wow, we want that piece of that action. Bookstore says, where can we get the book? TV shows were going, we need to interview this author. So in the second and third and fourth weeks, he was already selling thousands and thousands of more copies, but it was all based on creating relationships at the conferences with real people that found that what he was talking about and what he was writing about was something they were interested in and would be happy to promote. And they did it for free. He didn't even pay, they didn't ask, well, do you have an upsell so that we can get a piece of the action? Things like that. I mean, the main strategy for a lot of business books is that you create a launch, sort of a Jeff Walker launch, and you launch with your book and you give it away free to people, but you always have an upsell. And the upsell is some course that costs $500 or $1,000. And everybody that promoted your launch gets a